The British Empire stretched across continents. It controlled oceans, governments, and lives. It enforced order with armies, built its dominance on violence and rule through fear. It had everything, except one thing: control over the human spirit. In the early 20th century, a man emerged from the colonized heart of India. No military rank, no political title, no wealth or physical power. And yet, the greatest empire on earth would bend beneath his will. This was not a revolution of rifles. It was a war for the mind, a systematic dismantling of control, without violence, without chaos. A strategy so precise, it broke the chains of empire in full view of the world. This is how Gandhi won a war without ever firing a bullet. Every empire relies on one thing above all: psychological compliance. It is not the sword that keeps people silent. It is the belief that the sword must be obeyed. Gandhi saw through this illusion. He understood that the mind accepts what it believes is unchangeable. So he made the empire look fragile. He walked, he fasted, he stood still, until the world saw what domination tried to hide. The rulers were outnumbered, outwitted, and deeply afraid of a man who refused to be controlled. He stripped power down to its essence, belief, and then he shattered that belief with action. By controlling perception, Gandhi broke the spell. Once the people no longer feared punishment, the empire's grip began to dissolve. Gandhi's strength wasn't found in speeches or followers. It lived in his discipline. He eliminated excess. He rejected luxury. He trained his mind like a soldier trains his reflex. Every ritual of his day, from rising before dawn to spinning his own cloth, was part of a greater system. This wasn't spiritualism. It was a calculated method of self-rule. When a man cannot be tempted, cannot be frightened, cannot be bought or broken, he becomes immune to every tactic of control. His actions created a framework. His example became a template. And as his inner command over himself deepened, his influence multiplied. Power doesn't always look like aggression. Sometimes, it's a man who can stand in silence longer than an empire can tolerate. Non-violence was never weakness. It was strategic restraint. Violence would have justified British retaliation. It would have invited destruction. But non-violence created a paradox. The oppressor became the aggressor, and the oppressed became the mirror. When British soldiers struck peaceful marchers, they exposed their own brutality. When Gandhi was imprisoned for acts of civil disobedience, it wasn't a punishment. It was a headline. The world saw, and the moral tide shifted. Each protest, each arrest, each moment of disciplined silence created a fracture in the public narrative. The British weren't keeping order. They were suppressing freedom. And the more they tried to crush Gandhi's movement, the more legitimate that movement became. He did not stop their violence. He made it useless. The real battlefield wasn't Parliament. It was the minds of the people. And Gandhi won them not with speeches, but with symbols. The spinning wheel, the salt march, the rejection of foreign cloth. Each act was simple, but devastating. He removed complexity from rebellion. He showed that resistance didn't require permission, weapons, or even conflict. It required clarity and consistency. He didn't command the people. He demonstrated what it meant to live without chains. And in doing so, he created millions of leaders, farmers, students, laborers, each one a node in a growing psychological revolt. The British no longer faced a rebellion. They faced a nation awakening to its own power. Empires depend on more than strength. They require the illusion of moral superiority. Gandhi dismantled that illusion piece by piece. He held up a mirror to the colonial system and let the world see what was really there. The British were no longer the noble administrators of order. They were exposed as violent occupiers enforcing submission on a peaceful people. The longer they resisted Gandhi, the weaker they looked. They could not destroy him, because his power was not physical. It lived in the global imagination, spreading from India to London to Washington. The empire couldn't survive that kind of exposure. Not in an age of newspapers, cameras, and rising public consciousness. Control requires silence. Gandhi forced the world to listen. The most powerful weapon Gandhi possessed was not his message. It was his image. He didn't seek fame, but he understood its utility. He cultivated a persona that embodied clarity, restraint, and unwavering resistance. Every appearance became a statement, every photograph a signal, every prison sentence a rallying cry. He wasn't seen as a politician. He was seen as truth made human. And in that transformation, he became untouchable. Not legally, not physically, but symbolically. To attack Gandhi was to attack an idea, and no empire, no matter how armed, can jail an idea. Power is not found in weapons, uniforms, or declarations. It begins with control of perception. It grows through discipline. It expands by example, and it dominates through belief. Gandhi understood this structure completely. He didn't dismantle the British Empire with force. He dissolved its authority from within. He rewired the minds of the colonized, redefined the role of the ruler, and removed fear as a tool of submission. The British lost not because they were weak, but because Gandhi redefined what strength meant. He turned his body into a battlefield, his silence into strategy, his resistance into law. No bullet was fired, no coup was staged, but the empire still fell, crushed beneath the weight of a man who ruled without ever needing to.